one thing in particular I would ask is about this thing about 17 and 68 seconds. And also linking that into a process you teach called segment intending. You say you have to focus on something for 17 seconds to get a sort of a grip on the or a grip on the vibration of it. I don't know if I'm explaining that very well, but that's how it sounds. Does that mean before every segment you've got to stop for 17 seconds and think of it, and then move into the segment, or?
Well, really some of our friends take everything so literally that they carry timers or stopwatches around, and which is a bit counterproductive, but because now you're thinking about the timer or the stopwatch instead of the subject at hand. But what we mean by that is when you focus upon something in a non-diluted way. For example, we're going to demonstrate, I want that, but I don't have it. Well, that's split energy. I want it, but. I want it, but. I want it, but. I want it, I really want it. It would be so nice to have that. I know others who have it. It would be really fun to have that, but. It didn't make the 17 seconds. I want it because in the experiencing of it, I would have more freedom, and the idea of it coming to me would make me feel so satisfied. And I know of some other people that I'm aware of that do have it, and it's pleasant to watch them in the receiving of it. And I know that they may not have always had it, and it doesn't seem to matter whether they did or didn't, because now they do. And the idea of me having it now seems more possible because there are others that didn't have it who now have it. And so now I believe that even though I haven't had it, that I could have it. Now that's 17 seconds. In other words, you got sort of a run going, and what you begin to notice is the longer you hold an idea without crossing into contradiction about it, then the more powerful it becomes, because at the 17-second point another thought like it joins it, and there is just more pulling power in the combination. By the time you cross the 68-second mark, which is just a combination of 17, 17, 17 and so on, by the time you cross that 68-second mark, what happens is you have amassed enough vibrational pull, so to speak, that law of attraction kicks into overdrive. And the probability of something meaningful showing itself to you now is much greater. So the way segment intending fits into all of this, segment intending means identifying that I've moved into a new segment, which simply means my intentions are changing slightly. When we had segment of refreshment, it was our desire that you go refresh yourself. Segment of lunch, it was our desire that you go and eat something. This segment is about this interface. When the telephone rings, it's a new segment. When there are a room full of a few hundred people and one new person walks into the room, from our vantage point, the segment is just shifted because one different energy addition has changed the whole mix, you see. So when you realize that if you first recognize that you have entered a new segment, and then you stop to identify, what do I most want from this segment? And if your first statement is, I want alignment with who I am, which means I want to view this segment through the eyes of Source, that one intention would serve you ever so well. When you get into your vehicle, your intention is to move comfortably and safely from one place to another, or your intention might be to see something wonderful that you have not seen before, or it might be to have a conversation with someone who's riding with you and to extract something from them, or to co-create something together. It's just so helpful to identify your segments and to intend what you most want from them, rather than doing as most people do, which is creating by default. They just blunder into segments, observe what's there, and get a mixed bag of vibration. Where segment intending is queuing yourself up for alignment, and it makes for a more brilliant, vivid, good feeling, fast moving, high flying life, you see.
Because I did have I did what you could call using a small notebook, and I would sort of scribble things down. And the pattern basically that I established was, I'd intend something, it wouldn't happen, I'd get annoyed. I'd intend something, wouldn't happen, I'd get annoyed. I'd intend something, it wouldn't happen, I'd get annoyed. And, and that's how it would go.
Well, here's the thing that we really want you to hear. When you write it in your notebook as an intention, and then you take score too soon, one of the wonderful things about this environment in which you live is that you have this buffer of time. We've been talking about this all day here today, about throwing things into vibrational escrow, and then, but you have to be a vibrational match to them. Saying it just doesn't make it so. Saying it doesn't make it so. Saying it and hoping it makes it closer to a probability. Saying it and believing makes it begin to show up in small ways. Saying it and knowing it makes it a sure thing and makes it come now. And so just writing it down is the first step of what you want. Coming into vibrational alignment with it is the value. And you know, segment attending, or any of the plethora of processes that we have offered, and if you know us very well, you know we are eternal spewers of processes. And there are more coming. Endless. But every process that we offer is a step 3 process. In other words, every process, every one of them, is about holding yourself in a thought that will cause a lessening of resistance and an increasing of allowance, so that you can be the receiver of what you've been asking for. And so writing it, so often people think, well, I'll set a goal and then I'll achieve the goal. Or they think that the scripting process is the way that I tell the universe what I want. Or the intending process is the way I make it clear to the universe what I want, and now I'm standing by waiting for the universe to do what I've told them to do. And what we want you to understand is that you've been telling the universe what you want through all of this contrast and sifting that you've been living. And that process of segment intending is not the process whereby you instruct the universe or demand it or ask for it. That intending process is the process whereby you bring yourself a little closer to vibrational alignment with it. So it becomes counterproductive when you do the process and then acknowledge that it didn't work, and then do the process and then acknowledge that it didn't work. That's that splitting of energy that we were talking about earlier. What you want to do is write it down and then say, I'll watch for the evidence of it. And I understand that there is a buffer of time, and I can feel this tug in me that I've intended it, but I am doubting it a bit. I can feel the doubt within me. And so until this doubt subsides, my intention cannot be realized. So now you have a new intention. Now your intention is beyond just what you wrote down that you intended. Now your intention has evolved to say, now my intention is to relieve this doubt. I want to bring this doubt into some hoping. I want to bring this doubt into more positive expectation. Now my intention is to relax and hope and believe. And you can't get too far along in that before the universe delivers to you some evidence of that. And every time, you see, the wonderful thing about intending and then feeling that you're not in alignment, and then deliberately bringing yourself into alignment, and then consciously seeing the evidence of the specifically chosen alignment, is that now you feel powerful. There are all kinds of things that go well for you every day, but because you didn't intend them consciously and write them in your book, you don't make the association with your asking and allowing and receiving, you see. But when you deliberately ask and you deliberately tune yourself up because you weren't naturally already tuned up, let's face it, when you ask for something you don't have it. And when you ask for something that you haven't had for a long time that you've wanted, not having it is the strongest vibration within you. It's natural. It's not something to be mad at yourself about, but it is something you have to fix before you can have it. And that's what that process is about. It's about morphing into the vibration of... A woman said to us one day, her adult daughter wanted her to buy a bed and breakfast so that they could have a business in New York. And she said to her mother, oh, mother, if we could just make this happen, it would make up for all of the things that have gone wrong in my life. And her mother felt a little compelled. She had been motivated by that argument from her daughter many, many times. And so her mother asked us, is this something that you think I should try to make happen? And we said, when you feel like that, when you feel like, oh, if this would happen, it would just be the most wonderful thing, it's not the next logical step. In other words, your vibration is too far apart. Your expectation is too far apart. It's still in that amazing, I couldn't believe it sort of realm. When things are ready to pop for you in a full manifestational view, they feel like the next logical step. It doesn't feel like bouncing off the walls. It just feels like, yes, but of course I knew that was coming. And that's what the process of segment intending does for you gradually. It gradually causes you to become more and more of a natural vibrational match to all of the wonderful things that you've been throwing over here from places when you weren't a vibrational match. It's sort of hard to get your thoughts around it, that if I'm really in discord, if I really know what I don't want, that's really when I ask for what I do want. And then we say, yes, you've asked, but now you can't stay in that I really, really don't believe it place. You got to bring yourself deliberately and consciously into the place where this feels like the normal, which means, and that's why we say, start telling the new story. Start telling it like you want it to be. Start segment intending. Let the words flow forth from you. Let your thoughts ponder more about having it rather than more about not having it. And when it shifts, when you are 51% more expecting it than doubting it, things start showing up that then amplify your belief. And once you make that pivot on the fulcrum, once that happens to you, now you're off and running. And another lovely thing is, once you're able to do it with one aspect of your life, and if you've done it on purpose, now you can consciously do it to anything that matters to you. That's why we say to our friends, start with something easier. You tend to pick the thing that's been the issue that you've been dragging around all of your life, and that's what you write in your notebook. And we say, start with something easier. Let the universe show you how responsive it is to your pure vibration.